Hey, thanks for watching. So, we had an amazing victory this week. We won the court case we've been having with Genesee County Parks involving their unlawful drone ordinance. It's been a journey that's taken at least 13 months, and it feels fantastic. And it wasn't just a tiny victory, it was a complete and total victory. And none of this would be possible without our fantastic attorney, Dean Greenblatt. So a quick summary of the case. Michigan has a drone preemption law. It's MCL 259.305. And it says in pertinent part, except as expressly authorized by statute, a political subdivision shall not enact or enforce an ordinance or resolution that regulates the ownership or operation of unmanned aircraft, or otherwise engage in the regulation of the ownership or operation of unmanned aircraft. It's pretty clear. And in response to that, Genesee County passed an ordinance that says, no person shall, upon the property administered by the Commission, make any ascent or descent, operate or possess any balloon, airplane, parachute, drone, manned or unmanned aircraft on Commission properties or waters, except in designated areas, without first obtaining written permission from the Commission. Well, those two things seem to be incongruent. And we got the judge to give us his conclusion on the matter. And it says, for the foregoing reasons, this court prohibits the enforcement of any ban on possession, use, or operation of drones on Robert Harrison, that's me, or other members of the public by the Genesee County Parks Commission and any of its agents, representatives, rangers, members, officers, directors, and employees that is inconsistent with the dictates of state and federal law. It is so ordered. So we won, right? This is great. It's all over, right? No. So in response to the judge's order, the county made an amendment dated February the 11th, 2020 to their ordinances, which reads, until further notice, effective immediately, all parks, except those listed below, will allow unmanned aircraft operations in accordance with federal and state laws. And then they list a no-fly zone and all the parks that they say you can't fly in. That's not what the judge said. Oh, let me find that part. So the judge, in his opinion, did actually on page 9 have a little section that says the court was a bit troubled by the possibility the county would allow the operation of drones in some parks, but outright prohibit operation in others. So the judge was pretty clear in his opinion that it's not okay to allow drones in some parks, but not allow them in others. They simply lack the authority to do that. So this amendment came out on the day after the judge's order was issued. It was apparently brought to the county's attention that this amendment violates the judge's order. So they amended the amendment with this one right here. Until further notice, effective immediately, all parks, except those listed below, will allow unmanned aircraft operation in accordance with federal and state laws. The following parks require prior approval from the FAA. And they list all those parks. Well, somebody brought it to their attention that this still doesn't work. It kind of seems to say that only the parks below will allow unmanned aircraft in accordance with federal and state laws, as if to say you don't need to follow federal and state laws if you fly in the parks that aren't listed below. Well, that's not really what they were trying to say. So they went back to the drawing board and decided to treat their ordinances as if it's Twitter and go ahead and spit out another one real quick. So we'll go look at version 3. Okay, so version 3, which came out on February 13th, says, until further notice, effective immediately, all parks will allow the possession and operation of unmanned aircraft, so long as the operation is in accordance with federal and state laws and does not violate any criminal laws. Section P910615 shall not be deemed a criminal law for the purpose of this notice. Well, a couple things going on here. The least of which is that there's no period at the end of this sentence, which is only worth mentioning because they then created a fourth version of this amendment, which does have a period. First, the legal minds tell me that they're attempting to enforce federal regulations. So they're saying if you violate FAA law, then you're violating our park rules. And the park doesn't have the authority to enforce federal regulations. So that's one part. And then you might be asking yourself, well, what's section P910615? Well, let's go have a look, shall we? So it's their drone ordinance. But there's also this one right here. Section P910101, permits. Failure to obtain or follow the terms of a permit is a violation of park rules. Permits are required for certain activities upon commission properties, including but not limited to events, hunting, fishing, harvesting, drones, and metal detecting. I think this is just an oversight on their part. It'll get taken care of. But the permit for drones hasn't really been adequately addressed as of now. And another thing, I'm not a legal scholar, but when it comes to ordinances, I don't think that municipalities get to just create them, get rid of them, enact them, amend them without a process. Like, the normal process, from my understanding, involves creating the change to the ordinance or the new ordinance, and then at 3 separate meetings, public meetings, reading the ordinances aloud and giving public time to offer their comment on them. And then after they've read it 3 times and they've had time for public comment, then they get to vote on it, and then they can, that's how they enact it. Maybe the park has some special way of doing things where they don't need to follow that process. But these aren't just park rules, these are county ordinances. So it'll be interesting to see how this all pans out. But needless to say, the day they came out with their amendment telling everybody that they can't fly in these certain parks, there was a pile of drone operators that went to those parks just to go fly drones. There were no incidents. So it's not over, and they seem to be having some confusion with their rules. They're having a hard time kind of getting it straight here. But I think it's all going to work out. They're going to get it figured out. It might take a few days. They're going to change all their park rules. They're going to comply with the judge's order. That's at least that's my opinion on the matter.